So, and then when it comes to the live performances, what is your approach then? Because you say almost that dreamlike state. Do you experience performing in a way like that, or is it very conscious?
Well, when you're performing, a lot of time, well, when you're performing, the songs are what dictate that. I know people. I've been asked sometimes, like, you know, how can you how do you get yourself into the mood to go on stage and sing this kind of, you know, you have to prepare or think. And no, the song, the minute you make that sound, and the minute the song is there, I mean, it's, you know, the spirit is there. It's alive. It's alive as when it was born, and there's sort of this eternal feeling about it, and that comes. But no, that usually is I'm amazed at how quickly the music puts you there, and I've never had to. I don't think I've ever really felt like I had to force the feeling or get myself in the mood, you know, and I've never really. I don't know. No, I've never been on stage where I felt like I don't feel this anymore, or I'm just not into it. It's always there.
So it always takes you back to
yeah.
whatever mood it was that you.
Well, it's more like it just brings it to the now. It's like
okay.
this song is alive. It's alive now, and it has every it's relevant to now, as much as it was now before. You know, it's in the room. It's alive now, and it's just, you know, you're more. It's more just kind of realizing that. Yeah, it's there. It's always been. It'll probably be there longer than we are.
Finally, then the album is called Ones and Sixes. Where does the title come from? Or do you remember when you came up with it?
There's the one right there. There's a 6 right there. Or here's the one here. One, 6. It came some from it was an effort to make things random. Having to do with BPM. I'd been demoing things and always setting the BPM at something divisible by 5. You know, like 125 or 81, or not 81, 80 or 95, you know, BPM. Just so it was easy to remember if I came back and wanted to do something and add something. But then I thought that was too cut and dry, too predictable, and I thought, how do I create something that seems more random, even though it sort of doesn't matter. And then I went to 1s and 6s instead of 0s and 5s. And it just kind of stuck with me for a while, and sort of came to represent sort of the effort. So like a conscious effort at randomness, or a conscious effort at unconsciousness. You know, it's like the give and take between, you know, control and not control. You know, organize things in randomness, and how do you, you know, is it possible to make something that's random? Is that even possible? Is it? I mean, if you're instigating it, isn't the fact that you're making it happen, then make it not random, and it makes it intentional. And I guess, I don't know, making a record a lot of times is like that. You know, you have certain things you have control over. You know, and you kind of steer it. You know, you have the songs and who you are, and then you kind of send it, and there's, you know, you trust that no matter how, you know, no matter which way the wind is blowing it around, it's still going to do what it needs to, and it's going to land, and it might look different, and it might have adjusted and become, you know, something else, but it's still, it still kept its integrity because of the few things that you did have control over. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that's, I think, sort of dealing with the world and sort of understanding and sort of grappling with what you have control over and sort of the things that are absurd and things that affect you, but that, you know, you're always wondering, like, well, what power do I have to change things
Can you
that
give
seem
me an
out of
example
control?
of something that, sorry to
Something in the world?
No, well, so some example of where you felt or where you feel that control might be lacking, or when
Well,
that feeling arises.
Well, we're still at war, aren't we? I mean, America's still an imperialistic invading force, and we're being lied to all the time, and we're being distracted all the time from what's going on. And the nature of human beings and their greed and their tendency to want to find ways to place themselves over others, whether it's the war or torture or law enforcement or border patrol guards. It's sort of, yeah, those are things that sort of come into play, and sort of depending on what, in the last few years, I guess, depending on how much I've allowed myself to look at it, I'm either trying to escape it or trying to fight it, But I don't know. I think a lot of the larger dynamic and some of the teeth on the record have probably come from that. I think more so than anything.
For instance, a song. Well, we've discussed lies, but are lies, and is that where the lyrics are derived
Some of that. The first song, "Gentle," has to deal with that. It deals with, the people deceiving each other. The idea of what is soft and gentle. Sort of the tension that builds, and under with torture, static violence, the tension.
Does writing about these things help you deal with it then?
I don't know, because it's really still upsetting the shit out of me, man. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I know when I see little fragments of it and little hints of that in the music, I'm glad, because I feel like that's kind of the only thing you can do, and in some ways I think your mind is looking for a way to express it and to sort of get it out and sort of accurately say things. And I think when that happens, it's certainly a goal. I mean, I would like to be able to address those things, and I wish music could change the world, and I don't think it can. I don't think it will change those big things. But it changes individuals, I think, and it changed me.
This might be a leap then, but because Bob Dylan famously also was a social critic, he was conscious of what was going on. Is that part of kind of the musical tradition in Duluth?
Yeah, I think so. I think because we're sort of a bit of a underdog, I think you grow up feeling like you're outside a little bit, and you tend to be a little more skeptical of the bigger machine. Maybe the cold, I think, probably brings mortality and sort of the desperation of life and suffering, and, a little more to the forefront. I don't know. I mean, Dylan. I mean, in many ways, it's sort of a closed and conservative, a rural thing going on there. But I mean, northern Minnesota, kind of where, just north of where we lived, was sort of the last bastion of the socialists, in the 40s and 50s, It was sort of the last. There was a lot of influence there of that. It was sort of the last thing, and I don't know if that necessarily still pervades throughout the community there, but I think because the same factors existed back then, I think maybe there's a little bit more of that tendency there too. You know, you're sort of, you know, civilization is in front of you, and nature and nothing is behind you. Mm-hmm. You're sort of looking at both. There's something about that, I think, that makes you, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Something.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sure, no problem.
All right.